Was buying the Kerbal franchise from the clutches of Take-Two even worth it? Today we're going to dive into the foggy maze that is video game sales and try to figure out whether or not the new owners made a good business decision financing the smoldering remains of the crashed rocket simulation game brand. Hello everybody and welcome! A short while ago we found out that private equity company Haveli Investments has financed a new yet unnamed publisher that acquired Private Division and its assets. I'll link the video up top and in the description. Those assets include the Kerbal intellectual property and games consisting of the original Kerbal Space programs, its two DLCs Making History and Breaking Ground, and the never-finished sequel Kerbal Space Program 2. There are of course other titles in Private Division's portfolio, but a lot of the online discussion right now is focused on the fact that KSP2 is still sold through Steam on promises that are likely never going to be fulfilled. There have been calls to delist the game from the platform, but that happening is about as likely as the game ever being finished. Because it makes everyone involved money. How much? We'll get to that. What I have been trying to find out over the past week is whether or not the KSP franchise still provides enough value to a company like Haveli, because I've been scratching my head why a private equity firm would shell out millions of dollars for this portfolio. We will get to what they might want to do with it a little bit later in the video. If you enjoy space-related games and analytic content like this, why not subscribe to not miss an update? We're closing in on the 100,000 subscriber milestone, and you hitting that button would mean a lot to me. And if you already are a subscriber, welcome back and thank you. Now, about that money the Kerbal franchise makes for the new owners. It is difficult to get hard facts about sales numbers on Steam. There are websites like Gamealytic that try to guesstimate the figures based on retail price and number of reviews. According to them, KSP2 sold between 325,000 and 981,000 copies since February 2023, generating an estimated gross revenue between 14.8 and 44.8 million US dollars. Bit of a wide range. I still have access to a few people that were directly involved with the development of KSP2 up until the closure of Studio Intercept Games in June last year. When I confronted them with these numbers, they said that revenue is nowhere close. But they believe that the copies sold is fairly accurate, estimating them to be around 750,000 by now. I know from my deep dive into the history of KSP2 development that on launch day, the hope was to reach 100,000 sold copies. In reality, it petered out at around 80,000. There is a massive amount of more details in that video, link is up top and in the description. Now it's probably less than 10 copies per day. How do I know this? Well, if you remember, I interviewed a video game studio CEO a couple of weeks ago, Dean Hall from Rocketworks. He was kind enough to provide actual sales numbers for the games his company has already released. Based on those, we can estimate what the Kerbal games actually make per day when cross-checking the data with SteamDB. If you don't know, SteamDB provides a lot of data aggregation for games sold on Steam. Among the information on the site is a ranking of the current top-selling games. At time of writing, KSP2 still hovers around rank 2000. Dean Hall told me that one of their games, Stationeers, made around $500 per day while at that position. He provided data for January 8th as evidence where the game grossed $630 while being quite a few spots above rank 2000. Even though the games are sold at different prices, the SteamDB ranking is comparable since that is looking at revenue and not copies sold. Since the ranking is in constant flux, the dollar amount that KSP2 makes per day is probably not going to be a constant $500. But still, there are a handful of people still buying a game that is unfinished and has little hope of ever reaching any of the promises still being advertised on its Steam page, which is something that makes a lot of people understandably very angry. For the sake of having easier numbers, let's stick with 500 per day on average. That's roughly 3,500 per week or 15,000 per month. definitely not enough to finance a couple of developers, let alone a whole studio on its own. Of course, there's also the original Kerbal Space Program and its DLCs. Those are also still available and generate money. KSP bounces between rank 500 and 1000 on the Steam DB charts, but it remains pretty constantly there. Now, back to the numbers provided to me by Rocketworks. Icarus, their most recent game, was around rank 300 during time of writing and grossed roughly $10,000 per day around that time. Since those rankings are not linear, we don't really know the exact numbers for KSP, but it will be probably around $5,000 to $8,000 per day. That's somewhere between $150,000 and $240,000 per month. Keep in mind, those are all gross numbers and still estimates. You have to, of course, deduct the 30% cut that Steam takes for providing their platform services, but that's still $100,000 per month that KSP generates, presumably. Given that the development of KSP2 swallowed up dozens of millions of dollars and Take-Two probably tried to recoup quite a bit of that loss through the sale of its private division publishing label, the new owners of the Kerbal franchise will have a lot of selling to do to break even. So what can we expect? In regards to an actual Kerbal Space game, not much, I'm afraid. Spinning a studio up that is capable of delivering on the promises of KSP2 will take a lot of time and resources. The Kitten Space Agency team have a massive head start there, and some of them are former KSP and KSP2 developers who brought their knowledge along. But we know that Intercept Games had already worked on a separate game for the Kerbal franchise. From what I was able to find out, it was an adventure-style game in cooperation with a big toy manufacturer. Which one? I have a suspicion, but I am not sure. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Finishing that type of game will be a lot easier than getting all the orbital math and vehicle physics right. So if there is ever an official Kerbal game published by the new owners, that would be my bet. But that is still speculation. Harvester, the original creator of KSP, tried to reach out to them in regards to what they want to do with the IP and even got somewhat of a response, but nothing tangible yet. That leaves the rest of the titles in the private division portfolio, none of which are close to KSP's sales numbers. And of course the upcoming Tales of the Shire and an unnamed game in the Pokémon franchise. I would bet on those being the focus of the new owners for the near term, and then maybe finishing the Kerbal adventure game. Whatever the new publishing company is going to actually do, one thing is for sure. They are being financed by Haveli Investments, and as a private equity company, they will want to see a return on their investment. That means more emphasis on generating revenue and less on creating a legacy like KSP did all those years ago. That's the price of financing, I guess. And if you want to help me finance this channel, I put a couple of affiliate links in the description with stuff I use to create my videos. If you dislike YouTube ads, you can watch all my videos ad-free over on Patreon. If you select one of the higher tiers over there or as a YouTube member, your name will show up here, together with all of these wonderful people. Thank you so much for your support. I hope this video brought you a bit of insight into the world of video game sales on Steam. Unfortunately, without actual hard data from the games companies themselves, we have to rely on estimates for a lot of this discussion. But at least thanks to Rocketworks' transparency, we have more data to go off on. Let's hope that the new owners of the Kerbal franchise will show us at least a fraction of that transparency.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel for more and follow me on my social thingies. The links are in the description. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.